Okay, so let's talk about luster. The luster of a mineral is the way light reflects off the mineral's surface. So we want to make sure that when we're trying to figure out what the luster of a mineral is, we want to have really good light. So ideally, that would be a nice sunny day outside in the field, or if you don't have the opportunity to take samples outdoors, then you can use a bright light or even the window. You can stand next to the window and get good light. Okay, so the two lusters that I am sharing with you here are metallic luster. So you can see the metallic sheen of these two samples, and non-metallic luster, okay? So this is sort of the simple designations that we use in more introductory level courses. But as we develop our skills as geologists, we want to be even more discriminating in the types of lusters that we look at. So let's start with the metallic luster. It is often something that looks like the way light is reflecting off of metallic luster. It looks like the way light reflects off a wadded up ball of foil, aluminum foil, okay? So you can see that this metallic luster is sort of silvery in color, and the metallic luster of the mineral in this sample is more gold or brassy in color. So this is a great example of how luster does not depend on the color of the mineral, but we're talking about the way light reflects off the surface. So light is reflecting in a metallic sheen in both cases, regardless of color. Okay, so that's our metallic luster. We'll bring that back in a minute, but for now, let's start looking at some examples of other kinds of luster, non-metallic luster. Okay, so these two samples are considered non-metallic, but we can specify that these have a vitreous luster. So vitreous is, or vitreous as a luster, is a mineral that has light reflecting off of it, similar to the way light reflects off of glass or even broken glass. So you can see it's very shiny, okay? Lots of light is being reflected, just like broken glass might reflect light, okay? So very bright. Now, this is the sort of most intense sort of reflectivity of samples that are typically offered in a geology or mineralogy course would have vitreous luster. There's one that's even more reflective, and that's called adamantine. And adamantine luster is something like the way light would reflect off of a precious gem, maybe even something that's cut. So adamantine kind of sounds like diamond, and so you can think of adamantine luster as the way light reflects off of a diamond. We don't typically provide those examples in mineralogy courses. Okay, so I'll leave vitreous up off to the side, and then we'll go to maybe the next most reflective type of luster that you might find, and that's resinous. And so you can see that resinous still reflects the light, but not quite as brilliantly as vitreous does. So something like amber or resin, like a tree resin, or this sample are all good examples of resinous luster. All right, so let's move those off to the side and bring in the next most reflective type of luster. Might be something like silky. And really silky and pearly are both sort of intermediate or medium types of light reflecting. Typically, pearly luster, like the name sounds, has a bit of reflection, a bit of iridescence, like a pearl might have, and that's the sample that I have in my right hand. Whereas silky luster, as the name implies, has sheen that's a little bit more diffuse, but still reflective. And that might be like a piece of silk fabric, okay? So you can see that there's still light being reflected off the surface, but not quite as brilliantly as vitreous. Okay, so let's move those off to the side. And the next most reflective type of luster might be greasy, okay? So greasy often has sort of an oily sheen to it, like this sample that I'm showing you here. And the light is reflecting off of more microscopic particles, and so it is not quite as brilliant as pearly or silky, but you can see that at some angles we're getting a bit of reflection. Okay, so I'll move that down here. And then the last one that I'll share with you from the non-metallic family is one we call earthy. Okay, sometimes it's called dull, but I prefer earthy. And you can see that light is not being reflected off of this surface. It is quite dull. The light is being absorbed by the surface, okay? So in the non-metallic group, we have highly reflective with vitreous, slightly less with resinous, a little bit less with silky and pearly, not quite as much with greasy, and none with earthy. So those are the non-metallic lusters.